I think a lot of people want to come into doing wholesaling or taking listings or buyers, and they just want to take, you know, try the opposite. Now you're going to be taken advantage of and you got to put a limit on it, right? But what if you gave first, right? That's what I did. I was like, I'm going to drown them. I'm going to drown them. No, because I know how to wholesale. This is how you want your postcards to look. This is how you want to route your phone calls. This is how you get a seller to say, yeah, you know, you can't get him to say yes or no, but it's how you get a seller to decide. This is what you do it like. Just go through all those things. So long story short, anyway, that was kind of a cheat code, was the accountability, the public shame, the going to lose something and also going to gain something. So if you could turn it into a game, and maybe that's too aggressive for you, but for me, the stakes got to be high. And I think for most people, the stakes got to be high, because why are you going to change your comfortable ass life doing what you're doing if the stakes aren't high? Put the stakes high.
All right, guys, here we go now. It is time to unlock more doors to deals. We're real estate investors here. We're real estate agents here, and we all have one thing in common. We believe that we can. We can live the life of our purpose. We can create financial freedom. We can build a better life for those that we love, and we can live the life of our dreams. I don't care if you're trying to do your first deal or your 500th this year. You can get to the next level, and we're here to help. Welcome to Doors to Deals. I'm your host and founder, Jim Manning. Today's episode can be found on doorstodeals.com/064. Oh my goodness, we got a good one for you. Jeremy Burgess has been through more in the first 20 years of his life than most of us go through it in our entire life. He's going to share a story about how he moved a countless number of times, how he got into trouble when he was younger, how he rebounded, rebuilt his life into the successful real estate professional that he is today. Happy to call him a new friend, and he's inspiring, guys. If he's been through what he's been through, there's really not much that any of us can not solve. There's not much that any of us can't overcome. And Jeremy's an inspiration, guys. I'm excited to share this episode with you. Before we get started, a couple public service announcements. If you're in St. Louis and need some fund on deals, we got cash available for you. If you are looking to wholesale, we'd love to buy it or even help you revive some leads that you may think are dead that you can't put together. We have some strategies available for you that we can help you out with. And then agents, if you're looking to start investing yourself or even offer more value to your investor clients, my goodness, we got some resources for you available too. All you have to do is go to our website, doorstodeals.com/064, and there'll be some links for these resources. And really, we got a lot more resources for you than even these three that I shared with you here. So, all right. Well, that's all I got. Let's get going on this interview. It's going to be a good one. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Jim Manning here again, and we have Jeremy Burgess with Renegade Realty Group on the line. He has a background in investing, and I'm really pumped up. We have a mutual friend that we got connected with, and it's always good to have someone doing big things in a different city, different state than us, and just kind of connecting and talking shop. So excited to have you on, man. How are you?
I'm great, and I'm really excited to be on. I really do appreciate the opportunity. Obviously, I really like Jake, so I think I would really like you guys if you guys really like Jake. So I've really been looking forward to this.
Absolutely. So why don't you just give us a brief background, kind of like on your story, and just kind of share a little bit about you, man.
All right. I'll give you the condensed version as best I can. So I was born in Coos Bay, Oregon, into poverty, first 5 years of my life, into a little shitty trailer park right next to the Coos Bridge. And after 5 years of that, with my sister and my mom, my dad decided to join the United States Navy. So from there, I moved at the age of 5 from Coos Bay to Pensacola, Florida. And that just became the rest of my life. After that, it was Pensacola, Florida, to a little island called Guam out in the middle of the Pacific. Then from there to Boise, Idaho. And from Boise, Idaho to London, England. London, England to Gaeta, Italy. Gaeta, Italy to Rome, Italy. Then back to London. Then back to Tacoma, Washington. where I barely graduated from high school, enlisted in the United States Navy as a nuclear engineer machinist mate, went to Great Lakes, Illinois. I call it Great Mistakes, just kind of kidding a little bit. Then on to Charleston, South Carolina for all my nuke power school and all that prototype. Then into the fleet at San Diego, California. That's also where I got out of the United States Navy. Moved to Pullman, Washington to attempt to go to college. Only managed 3 weeks of that bullshit. It was too much commie stuff back then. I would never make it now, but it was too much for me back then too. Did a bunch of odd jobs. I actually learned how to be a baker for a while. Learned how to fry donuts, make French bread. Did that for 3 years. And actually, my best friend went to Iraq. And while he was there, apparently it's like equal parts boredom and being terrified. And he started reading a bunch of real estate books. And I was not happy in corporate America, baking bread, frying donuts. I was we're getting ready to get married to my wife. So making $12.76 an hour. I knew that couldn't, that's not going to work. I was just bumbling my way through life. So he came back and said, we need to do real estate. And it was the perfect time. And I was like, you're right. We need to do real estate. So, went and signed up for all the dumb courses. Went up to Coeur d'Alene.
What year was this?
What's that?
What year was this when you started in real estate?
2005. Yeah, it was like 2005. And I think I did, and then start getting into I did the Robert Allen BS like 2006, but that's when we really started getting into flips. I did my first deal. I did an assignment deal. Didn't even know what I was doing. It took me like 10 months to do. I didn't even know it was an assignment, That's how shitty my coaching was too. But I managed to pull that one off,
That's great. So Jeremy, I feel like you just pulled with your background, like whenever someone tries to tell me a story with like, hey, it's my cousin's best friend's mother's daughter, but
I'm not even done yet. I could just keep going. I'm almost 42,
but in your case, what's hilarious, or I mean, I think it's funny, is just like how much you traveled. It was about everywhere that you've lived. I can't believe that. I don't know if I've met anybody that's lived as many places as you have. Were you in,
I went to 12 different high schools. So imagine I went to 12 different schools. I had 12, all the kids, all the world. There's a lot of advantages to that. So my cousins didn't turn out so great. They didn't get to see much of the world. I was piss ass poor and nobody gave a shit about me, but I got to see the world. And I think seeing other opportunities is kind of one of the reasons why I'm not a criminal or a statistic or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
So if you're okay with it, if we can dig into this just a little bit. So so you mentioned like having like poverty being a big part of your life. So when you're making all these moves, your family was still like in poverty, correct?
Yes. Okay. And I had some interesting evil parents too. So once we started to make money, they didn't want to spend any money on us or feed us anyway. But we didn't have anything until we were like 9-10 years old anyway. So like eating rotten, burnt chicken, food out of garbage cans. I made friends with cafeteria ladies. I still won't let somebody say something bad about a cafeteria lady. I will stand up for all the fat, big titty cafeteria ladies, men or women in this world. They saved me and my sister's life, literally, with the extra food they gave us and they set aside for us. So it was just hard, and I started my first business at 5 because I was hungry. My mom, who's a total bitch, but she's like, hey, if you want it, you can go get it. So I'm like, I wanted money. I wanted to go buy a Coke. So I started weeding gardens and I cut my first lawn when I was 6 with a pair of scissors. It was 10 by 10. I got paid a couple bucks for it, which in 1985, whatever, is basically like $1 billion. I also started some black market where I used to trade American goods to the Europeans. They really liked our cake boxes and our frosting and our breakfast cereals. So I was like entrepreneurial in that way too, where I was like thinking outside the box. I didn't do anything that would get me in trouble, like cigarettes and alcohol, but like foodstuffs where, so I had businesses doing that. That's how I paid for my Boy Scouts. Then when I got back to the States, I started another business, thatching and cutting down trees. This is all before I graduated. So I had a lot of, enough people tell you, no, you can't do it. Yeah, people know that, right? You hear it today. Well, you can do it, but not them, not those people. I can't stand any of that. And I literally won't tolerate any of that. You're not some special person. You could, everybody can do this if you want to do this, so don't listen to those people either. But it was a huge driving factor in my life. It was like, no, how about yes? No, how about how? I'll figure it out. And I figured out really early too that nobody cared about us. So I was on my own. I figured it out.
I want to acknowledge something, man. Like, I mean, there's a lot of, from your upbringing, there's a lot of trauma there. There's a lot, 12 high school.
Yeah.
My goodness, man. So like you've been through more, like in your upbringing, like, and the background, like the way you're explaining it more than most people ever will. Like you dealt with by the time you were like 16 years old, right? So like, how did you take this trauma and like turn it into the amazing life that you like, how did this happen to where you got to where you're at now? Like, what do you think?
Well, I made a lot of mistakes too, right? So I started drinking real heavy at 14, binge drinking. I quit drinking and drugging at 21, but from 14 to 21, my life was on fire, like completely out of control. Probably the only thing that saved me was in 7th grade was the first time you can go do after school activities and they would bus you for free, right? Because my parents weren't taking me anywhere and it was too far for me to walk or go. But they would bus you for free. So that's probably what ultimately kept me from getting into too much trouble. But yeah, this kind of stuff does tend to make you resilient, but you cope in bad ways. So I discovered alcohol is a good way to feel good, right? And then that led to other drugs. I had a moment of clarity when I was 21. I don't know how. And I remember it very clearly where I blinked my eyes and I felt like I could be 20 years older and not be any further ahead. And I just immediately took action on that. I turned myself in. I got alcohol and drug treatment, and I just never looked back. So I still made plenty of mistakes after that, but that was okay, this alcohol and drugs thing, it's it works, but diminishing returns. I got to do something else. I was always a hard worker, so I went to my next religion, which took me forever to break, which was just hard work. I was like, if I just work harder, I can solve every problem. I can go through every obstacle. It doesn't matter. Well, it's kind of true too. So it kind of gives you a lot of positive reinforcement because I would say 95 times out of 100, that is true. The problem is the 5 times out of 100 where it's not true, right? So I struggled with a lot of that stuff too for a long time. So got a therapist, that kind of stuff. I still struggle with some of this stuff today. I just don't stop. Sometimes I get kicked to the sideline a little bit or I get slowed down a little bit. But the main thing is not to stop. And the 2 times I have stopped, I've regretted it immensely. It's like with those things in life where you realize you are going the right direction and then you paused. You weren't going the wrong direction, but you just stopped going too. That's a mistake. You got to keep moving, even if it's in the wrong direction, so you can correct to go into the right direction. So the 2 times where I was actually, oh, woe is me, I really, really, really regret because you lose a lot of time that way. You just don't have a lot of time. And when you grow up like me, you don't have a lot of time. You're starting way in the back. So you can have I love when David Goggins said, you can have a poopy pants attitude about it, which we've all done. It's like, I can't even tell you the seething anger. I know how criminals are made. I know how terrorists are made. You just know when you're treated that way. So that seething anger is like a choice. You're like, okay, am I going to direct this at things that make my life better or worse? And sometimes it's worse. And then you get back on track and it's better. But I made a decision basically at 21. All right, I know I'm not going to get this right, but it's time to start yanking this thing apart. And that's what I did. It really took me into my mid 30s though to really tear it all down. Because when you're tearing that shit apart, it's stuff you don't want to deal with. It's stuff you don't want to do. All the stuff. You want to ignore it. False answers, or the worst ones are things you know to be true that are absolutely not true. That kind of stuff derails you. So, but what it does do is give you a ton of motivation to advance in life, right? And I was fortunate, and I had no control over this, so I hope it doesn't come off as bragging, to be born a little smarter than the average person too. So I don't see how it's helped me as much as a lot of people claim it has helped me. I think my hard work has definitely helped me more than being slightly smarter than some people. I know a ton of people not nearly as smart as me who've done way better. So I don't think that's necessarily the advantage some people say it is, but it did help a little. So
hard
I
work
think the
beats
traveling
talent.
too, even though yes, and seeing possibility too, seeing different cultures, different people, how they lived, because I was in the same socioeconomic class. You think I was the only kid getting the shit beaten out of them and being starved? Like, no, there was a bunch of us. We just thought that shit was normal. That's who joined the military in 1985. That was a socioeconomic class. I don't regret it though, because as much as I paid, I look and I see my family members who never left. Which is, I'll be nice and say, not positive outcomes,
Jeremy,
So
the things you know to be true that just aren't so. What was one of those things that you had to figure out?
Well, the work religion was a hard one because I didn't have a religion, and I don't have a religion. I'm not political. I'm not religious. I don't like to call myself an atheist because I think that's a stupid word for believing in one less religion than somebody else, unless you're polytheistic. But I had a dogma, we'll call it, right? And it was my hard work can solve every problem. And I really ran my second business into the ground, and I really hurt a lot of people believing that. So giving that up, I talk about it like losing religion because I felt like I lost a part of it. It's like, oh, you can actually fuck things up so bad you can't fix it. You have to know that's a possibility. You have to know you can make a mistake so bad there's no way to fix it. And you have to be able to accept defeat or failure and move on. And you can't just say, oh, if I keep working on this. No, some problems are so big you literally have to start over. The second one was realizing my parents never loved me. Yeah. You're never going to fill that hole. You just got to live with it. You don't get that part. It's just over. You lost. That's a hard one. Also, nobody cares. I know they really care, but you know what I'm saying? Nobody really cares. Like, it's up to me. It's so easy. I mean, it sounds terrible, and I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Like, my uncle blamed Mexicans and Catholics for the failures in his life. We all know people like this, right? It's the rich, the billionaires, my boss, my wife is holding me back, my husband is holding me, my kids, my environment. If I could, we all know, right? And we all have legitimate reasons for suffering and for not doing things. And the fact of the matter is, it's not fair and it doesn't matter. You are in charge of yourself. That kind of responsibility. If you want freedom, that kind of freedom. If you don't want to be somebody's domesticated animal, you have to accept all the responsibility for everything in your life, and that's good and the bad. So if it's bad, it's you. If it's good, it's you. And that was a good thing. That was actually something one of my best friends really helped me with. He challenged me when I was doing a little pity party, and I'll love him forever because most people won't tell you. They'll just walk on by and they go, loser, maybe I'll figure it out later. That's what most people do. I know I've done it multiple times. Now I make a point if I care about someone because of what he did to me. And he really did. He pressed me for 6 months and I accepted this. So I'm entirely grateful for that, where I was like, you know what? It is my fault. I am responsible for this. I need to do something about this, right? And that could be a hard thing to do and deal with. And I understand. It is a bitter pill to swallow. It's like knowing other things have to die in order for you to live. This is kind of like that too. It's it's on you and it's not fair. And a lot of it has nothing to do with you either. Too bad, get back up. I almost even hate to say pick yourself up by your bootstraps because it's been so politicized and all that. But You are responsible for you, and you have to do it. And an amazing thing happened when I did that too. That's when people started to help me. People will help you if you help yourself. When you look like a basket case and you can't show up to work on time, you're not responsible at work. Everybody knows you as a person who leaves early, who doesn't refill the coffee when they empty it. You know what I'm talking about, right? And you think you're going to go start a career in real estate investing or some other business, and you're going to hire employees, and you're going to no, nobody's going to give you any fucking money. Nobody's going to help you out unless it's some government program where it's like, no, nobody's going to invest with you because they already know who you are. So by accepting responsibility for everything in your life, you no longer have to be that person. And then people see you for who you really are. And then they will start to help you, and they will start to invest in you because they know, hey, you're not going to always get it right, but you're always going to do the right thing, right? And the right thing is accept responsibility for it. So, yeah, I could probably go into some more, but those were the big ones. Those are the ones that knock you down in life, that really take a long time to figure out, at least for me. I'm a slow learner.
Hey, the blind spots, it's for everybody, right? And like, people don't understand this. Like, I'm 13 years into this. We've done over 2,000 deals and all that. Big whoop, but like 80-90% of it's mindset, and it's the psychology behind it. There's a concept, guys, if you want more like a YouTube video to support what Jeremy's talking about, there's a video called Internal Locus, LOCUS, of Control. And a lot of times we think like, oh, I have a lack of motivation. I'm just not motivated enough. And what I love about this video is it actually dispels that. I mean, people are inheritedly motivated at our core. But if I'm placing the control of my life, in your uncle's case, it was Mexicans and Catholics.
Catholics, yes.
If my belief system says that Catholics are the root cause of why my life's where it is, and I cannot,
you're helpless,
get to the life that I want to get to because these Catholics are the boogeyman and they're always going to come get me. Like, there's going to be no motivation for you to improve your life if that's your belief system that you have. You're permanently helpless. It's really convenient in that you don't have to do anything, right? Because you couldn't get it right anyway. So I understand the appeal of it because I'm fine the way I am. I don't have to do it. But you can see how quickly it doesn't serve you. I see. It's sad to see. Like, I saw a lot of my people ruin their lives doing this. You see it in politics, you see it in religion, you see it in your friends and family. And it's really not something that anybody wants to be around you when you're like that too. If I want to be a little less nice, you generally want to get along with good people, and good people don't react well to that sort of thing. So something to think about if you hadn't thought about it that way either. So the nobody cares belief, like, you started helping yourself and then people started helping you. So then it was like almost like you had to dispel that belief because of some actions that other people around you were doing at that point. That's fantastic. So now you're starting to get kind of some momentum in your life. Things are starting to go better. Let's talk about some of like the real estate aspects of that and some of your accomplishments there. Hey there, if you're looking to get the ultimate edge for your real estate investing company, go to doorstodeals.com/invest for more information. Just so you know, a high percentage of the people that we interview on this podcast are actually already Three Doors Network members. And our network members have a lot of extra resources. They have access to an online training vault with over 3 years worth of content in it. They have access to vendor savings like our Home Depot discount that's literally saved thousands of dollars for members. And we have a weekly group coaching call, and we have a lot of other great things as well as part of the Three Doors Network. So make sure that you check it out on doorstodeals.com/invest. Let's talk about some of like the real estate aspects of that and some of your accomplishments there.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of different things. I started just not knowing anything, just trying to do real estate deals. And I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to do it. It was 2005, but I was just desperate I like taking action. That's one thing about my personality. I would much rather start doing something than plan it. Now I kind of do both. I try and hedge that a little bit because that can get me in trouble. But I was just trying to do some deals. So I ended up doing an assignment on my friend's house because they had so little equity they couldn't afford to hire a realtor. And well, I didn't know anything. They couldn't afford, so they had really nothing to lose. It took me 10 months to sell it, but I managed to get them out. I made $3,000. I thought I did, but I ended up losing money because I spent so much in marketing because I didn't track. So I made all sorts of mistakes like that, right? Started sending out direct mail. That's an expensive thing to get right. But I stopped all that because right around that time in 2006 is when all the REOs started to hit. So for a period of time, I didn't have to talk to sellers at all. Because in 2006, 2007, as foreclosures were increasing and people were less interested in buying, it was easier and easier to find deals without having to do direct marketing. So I did a bunch of short sales and stuff, and all that shit's worked, right? It's really worked. The REOs are so much easier. Like if we can go back and turn back the clock, we can't, but just put in the offer. Nobody wants it. Submit 100 offers, get 10 accepted, close on the best 5. Like that was kind of what we did. And it worked really well. I moved from Pullman, Washington with my wife and my cats to Detroit to take advantage of this. I called it, I had to go east to go west, for speaking in metaphors and kind of doing the American dream thing, right? But when a postage stamp is $500,000 and the way they invest on the West Coast is to lose money for 3 years and hope, and generally it has, that appreciation outstrips your negative equity and your negative mortgage, right? And you make money. That just made no sense to me. Whereas in Detroit, in the Midwest, everything made sense. They're just giving away houses. So we moved here, immediately lost my ass in that because we moved in May of 2007. And of course, August of 2007, the crash in Detroit was in full effect. And October, I had houses that were worth 140 that were no longer worth 30. Like it happened that fast in Detroit. Everybody stopped lending. I had hard money lenders that I owed money to that they just disappeared. Their phone number didn't work. Their business disappeared. Like it was total apocalypse then. So that was like the end of my first business, but we had just moved to Detroit. Business dies. We're living in a hotel. I figure out how to do a subject to deal on the fly so we can get out of the hotel into a house on the east side that was so violent that we couldn't even stay there 10 months. So I ended up having to sell that thing, move over to the west side. And that's when we really started getting into, we stumbled into on accident. We were one of the first, I don't think we were the first people, but we were one of the first who stumbled into the kind of international market. I started with out-of-state people because I had all these great Detroit houses to sell and nobody in Michigan and Detroit wanted to buy them. So we'd submit 100 offers, 10 would get accepted, super low. We go look at them, close on the best 5. Like these are the greatest deals. Like we did all the hard work for you. Here we go. I just started cold calling people. So I went through, found a bunch of clubs, kind of like mine, Renegade Detroit Investor Club, REIA groups all over. And I picked the states like California, New Jersey, that had the highest home median values. We just started cold calling them to sell them houses. This worked actually. And then we started doing, I started attending those Robert Allen meetings with the express intent of selling them houses. They didn't like that, but they couldn't stop me. So that's when those meetings actually became useful. As I go to the events, I'd have all these marketing packages and whatnot. Kind of press the flash. I did real old school. I wasn't a huge believer at that time of email, internet. It's really the beginning of that. And my ex-partner now kind of changed my mind on that because you can imagine it's expensive, flying around, takes a lot of time. 2008 is like, we need to start a blog. And I had some really bad things to say about it. What we need to be doing? We need to be getting on the phones and dialing instead of getting on the internet in our mom's basement and typing up things that nobody, I had no idea. I was clueless. Internet was still kind of bad back then too. So in my defense, but I was also money hungry. We needed money. To give you an idea of how short we were, we basically did all this on 50 grand. I was like, there wasn't even time. Sometimes I was putting in so many offers. I had one title company wiring my proceeds to another title company. There wasn't even time to wire it back into our account so we could wire it to the other one. So when I say I was being aggressive, I was being insanely and probably irresponsibly aggressive. in 2008, 2009, just trying to take this $50,000 and turn it into something. And we did. We turned it into a lot, but we're kind of stupid. I fell for the whole Detroit nonprofit thing. We end up partnering with a Detroit nonprofit. We get into the MISHDA prisoner reentry program, where we're training prisoners who are no longer prisoners in life to like rehab. We got paid to do this, and then we put them in our houses that we were rehabbing. So we got reduced labor on this. It was a perfect thing, but Detroit being what it is, a lot of it turned out this nonprofit was stealing money from the state. So they got shut down, narrowly avoided going to jail. My ex-partner goes to jail for 2 years. I get sued, lose all my money again. This is where my friend stepped in and told me, save me from being woe is me. Because while I was a victim in this as well, I had brought a ton of people into this, right? Friends, family, investors, all my money, So being wiped out after that time was particularly difficult, was not good on my relationship with my wife. I actually had the FBI show up at my house. Told them very nicely to pack sand. I'm not talking to you. So I'll tell you the thing that saved me, though. This was worth all the BS that I paid for the Robert Allen. I had one good guy. He told me never touch the money. Always send it to the title company. Never touch the money. It's probably why I'm not in jail today. I never touched my client's money. Never went into my account. Always went to the title company. Always was dispersed on their signature. So even though I did plenty of other stupid things and irresponsible decisions, I didn't do anything criminal with my client's money or my money or anything like that. So I was able to avoid all that. I'm still paying people back from that. I got most people paid back, but I still got a couple of years to go on that. After that, my credit was ruined. Nobody would lend me money. I was a pariah, a piece of shit, and a sucker, because I was all those things. You know what? Sometimes the bullies are true. They tell you the truth, even though they're being assholes about that. So my options were basically wholesale. Because what can you do when you can't get loans? Nobody trusts you. Nobody wants to work with you. Why would they trust me either? I'm not one of those people. I was at the time, but yeah, why would they trust me? I just ran that thing into the ground. So I did have a lot of contacts because I had this meeting that I ran with Renegade Detroit Investors. So I kind of targeted the 3 best wholesalers, picked the one I thought I could do the best with and learn the most from, and pitched them. Say, hey, I'd love to work for you. Here's all my experience. Here's what I could do. Do you want to do this? And I'm going to give a shout out to Steve Londo, my bro forever. Motherfucker said yes right then on the spot. When I say yes right then on the spot, he put me in his car. He drove me to Best Buy, bought me a printer to immediately start working on direct mail. Love you forever, Steve. So got in the wholesaling. Steve is straight up savage. Best closer I've ever seen. I'm a damn good closer. This dude gets 50% of the contracts he goes out. If he goes out on appointments, 2 appointments, 1 contract, 10 appointments, 5 contracts. So I just follow him around for 6 months and I learn the wholesale game from him. I worked for him for, I think it was almost 3 years. I think it was like 2.5 years. Really liked working for him, but felt like I needed to do my own sort of thing, right? So I went out and started wholesaling on my own. Another one of my buddies, he's been a real estate agent forever. I'm having all sorts of scaling problems. Like expanding a wholesaling business is so difficult because all the skills someone needs to know to be a good wholesaler. You need to know how to rehab. I've done a couple hundred of those. You need to know how to work it as rentals. I've done 100 of those. Land contract. How do you flip? ARV, just so much you need to know to do this. And you're not even doing any of it. You just need to know how these people think so you can sell them a deal and bring them a deal that they actually want to do. Because that's what you need, right? You want to bring value to these investors. And in exchange for that, you get your assignment fee. So it's a difficult thing to have to do, but I had a great trainer in that. And I had all this other stuff before. But finding other people to do it and training other people to do it and building systems around it and growing it, I was struggling mightily. I've trained probably 12 of the best people in this market and they all end up leaving. So finally I decided I'm going to be a real estate agent because my buddy pitches on me. Joe Delia, thank you. He's like, hey, you're going to learn systems over here. So I decided to start being a real estate agent 2016. Just going to do the listing thing is what I decide from the get-go. I'm not going to do the buyer thing because I see the math on that pretty strong. If you haven't read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I say go after listings alone, because you'll get buyers with it. Anyway, I did that for 3 years. Super fun. Then went out and did my own thing. Now I have Renegade Realty Group. I have a couple of my own buyer's agents. We do wholesale deals. We do listings. We do rentals. We do wholesales. We kind of do a little bit of everything. I mostly work for other investors and, strangely, other real estate agents who hire me. I always thought that was funny, but I know, as strange as it is, a significant portion of my business is other active real estate agents hiring me to sell their stuff. So I never thought that would happen in a million years, but it turns out that could be part of your business. But we're getting more and more retail business too, as I've been doing this more and more. So done lots and lots of different things. I will say this though, one of the things that helped me, if you want to grow fast, is accountability. So one of the things, if you're competitive, I don't think this works if you're not competitive. But I am competitive, and one of the ways I find, because starting a new business like wholesaling or flipping, like it takes a massive amount of action in the beginning. Motivation, as you pointed out, is just some bullshit. It's discipline. You got to get up and do a lot of stuff. And if you're just starting something, you got to get up and do a lot of stuff a long time, and you got to be excited to do it, or so damn afraid you won't quit. One or the other. If you could get both working for you, you go even faster. So I like to do both. I like to be horrified by what I'm doing, but also incentivized like a rabid dog, right? So what I will do is I'll put money on the line and I'll put my reputation on the line. The first time I did this on the Delia Group was I set a goal for myself to take 63 listings by the end of the year. And I wrote my boss a check for $5,000. And I told him if I didn't do it, to cash it. And I did this on Facebook Live so all my friends could see it. So there was no way for me to back out of it. For me, that was like a cheat code. When I figured out I could do that, because like public shame, not following through with what I said I was going to do, losing the money. Oh my God. Like it has to be enough money to lose too. I wanted to make it 10 grand, but my wife wouldn't let me. She literally was like, no, we can't lose 10 grand. I'm like, baby, we're not going to lose. That's how I thought. I was like, we can make it 50 grand. I'm not going to lose, but it's got to be enough that you got to be terrified of losing it, right? Like horrified. I was like, and then I was more horrified of not getting the 63. Anyway, it worked. I got 72. Next one I did was I took on the entire Delia Group team, 17 agents versus me. I'm going to take more listings than all you motherfuckers together. Whoop their ass by 3. So now I wasn't trying to whoop people's ass. This is how you make massive action, right? Like it's like a cheat code. People are like, why are you doing this? Nobody wants to do this. I took 63 listings in my first year. How do you do that? Well,
so your
you're
first
horrified
year
and incentivized.
Well, just for people listening, what was your biggest like lead generation activities? What were you doing to generate those listings?
SOI. So
SOI.
what I did was I sat down and I identified 20 people because I'd wholesaled, I'd flipped, I'd had rentals. I could add a lot of value as a real estate agent that a lot of other real estate agents couldn't. So I identified 20 people that I thought I could help in their wholesale and flip business. I reached out to all the 20 people and I offered to help them for free in their business to help it grow, with the understanding that they would help me in my business too. Out of that, I got 3 people who ended up giving me 80% of my listings for the first 3 years. So, and it took about 6 months before anything happened. And I did take 72 listings the first year. The goal was 63, but take 72. I wouldn't have been able to do it without helping those 20 people, right? I think a lot of people want to come into doing wholesaling or taking listings or buyers, and they just want to take, try the opposite. Now you're going to be taken advantage of and you got to put a limit on it, right? But what if you gave first, right? That's what I did. I was like, I'm going to drown them. I'm going to drown them. No, because I know how to wholesale. This is how you want your postcards to look. This is how you want to route your phone calls. This is how you get a seller to say, yeah, you can't get him to say yes or no, but it's how you get a seller to decide. This is what you do it like, just go through all those things. So long story short, anyway, that was kind of a cheat code, was the accountability, the public shame, the going to lose something and also going to gain something. So if you could turn it into a game, and maybe that's too aggressive for you, but for me, the stakes got to be high. And I think for most people, the stakes got to be high, because why are you going to change your comfortable ass life doing what you're doing if the stakes aren't high? Put the stakes high. That would be my recommendation too. Get the accountability up, massive accountability. Now I fail too. Like I just failed a 50-miler attempt, pretty bad. I only made it 11 miles, So, but I hit my Ironman, I nailed that with 20 minutes to spend. Like, so you're going to fail too. Like you're going to biff it. When you set out big goals, huge goals, horrifying, terrifying goals, the kind of goals that keep you up and like you fucking break a sweat at night, you're horrified in the morning. That's good. It should move you to do those things. I think we're going to have this fear anyway. Use it to move you forward. What I don't want you to do though is treat yourself like a terrorist, right? Negotiate. Make sure you're not just doing challenges for challenges. They have to advance your goals, right? So be very clear about what you're trying to do, and then turn it into a game that works for you. Because the kind of massive action it takes is, you guys, I'm sure you're aware, everybody knows the price that has to be paid to get into anything, be it real estate, whatever. We all know it's something like 10,000 hours, right? Do something to get you excited about it, to get you to take that massive action. And after that, it kind of takes care of itself, Now, I don't do it too often because it's really intense. So just don't do it all the time. This is to be used sparingly, right? Like this is good for like 6 months first, right? You're going to need some time off after this. I ended up getting a second back surgery. I went so hard so long. Don't do that. So take some time off, but that's a good way to trick yourself into doing something too. If you're sitting on the sideline, not doing anything for a long time, when you know you need to take massive action. And if you didn't already know, you need to take massive action.
Hey, Jeremy, I have a question for you. How's your relationship with money currently? Like, are you able to kind of embrace some of the successes and some of the sales that you've had and feel like it's healthy, or do you kind of have a feeling of, oh, is the shoe going to drop? I kind of had this other business that failed, and like where are you at right now?
Winter's always coming. I'm always preparing for the worst. I don't know if my therapist calls it hypervigilant. So there's actually a name for it, but yeah, I'm careful. Now I take risks too. I'm very aggressive, but I've kind of learned to, because that's one of the parts about my personality I've had to learn to control a little bit, is how impulsive I can be. It's good to go all in on things, but you should think about what you're going all in on. That's why I said sit down and actually make sure your goals are achieving what you want them to achieve. That may sound silly, but it's easier to confuse yourself than you think. Let me give you one stupid, silly example that didn't have as big an impact, but cost me money. I wanted to do 100 deals in a year. I did 40 deals, and next year I made the same amount of money. What was the point of doing 100 deals?
Yeah,
that was the wrong goal. You know what I'm saying? So I don't make you paranoid about it, but just think it through. I didn't always think it through, but in general, yes, I am what you might call stoic.
So Jeremy,
I expect things to go wrong all the time. I expect to be wrong all the time. That's just kind of how I live my life.
So Jeremy, with your background and some of the trauma you've been through, there's a book called The Psychology of Money that I'd highly recommend for you. And
I've read it.
Oh, you have read it. Okay, good. Yeah. So like what we can do, guys, is like if you lead your life, like if I do 100 deals, then I'll be happy. And if we, or like if we're not solid and sound and at peace on the internal, there's no level of achievement that is going to fill that void. Okay. So what can happen to people, and the psychology of money kind of goes into it a little bit more, but what will happen to people is, let's say somebody wins the lottery and they have their core fear is that I'm not good enough and I won't be loved, as like in their programming, and that's at their core what they're afraid of most. And then family members start to fight, and they're like, well, shit, people are fighting because I won $1 million. I won this lottery. So then subconsciously what they do is they self-sabotage, and they basically give away all the money so that the family and everyone can be at peace again. So yeah. So anyway, so like that's something that like I would, and personally on my journey, I've dealt with some things like that too, is it doesn't have to be if then, guys. Like you can right now, you can be happy, you can be content, and you can be motivated and take control of reaching the life of your dreams and aspiring to it. So I'm really glad you've read that, Jeremy. That's a big deal based on your background that you've read it. And if anybody's kind of had some similar trauma, guys, and a similar background of kind of coming up from poverty, please read that book, guys. So
just remember, everybody deserves success. Everybody deserves success. Period. End of report. You can remember that. And also, money is a tool. I am a little bit more conservative than I used to be, but I'm still generally pretty aggressive. But there's way more money out there than there will ever be deals. So don't do anything for money. It's never worth it. Don't do anything for money. The few times I did things for money, I regret, and I will probably regret them till the end of my dying days. There's always more money than there will ever be good deals to put them in, and that's even before they started the printing machine. That's just what we had on Earth. So it's for true with the printing machine. So don't feel like a lot of people feel like they got to get in their first deal too, and they lose money, like that kind of stuff. Like, no, and don't give it back, and don't listen to your loser family. And like, no, you deserve all those things. Still got to be smart. It's not just going to happen for you, but you deserve them. If not you, then who? I always like to ask that. If not you, then who?
I love that. Hey, Jeremy, you mentioned your buddy that does the 50% close on the wholesale deals. What do you think? Like, what's part of the secret sauce to do that? What do you think is most important about closing at that high of a clip?
It's really simple. He doesn't quit. So my personality is rare. I'm like 1.5% in the world. You can't upset me. You're not going to make me uncomfortable. You can't act like you're not going to intimidate me. It's just not going to happen. I don't give a shit. I don't care if you're the president. I don't care who you are, a lawyer, whatever, cop. It's not going to work. Even Steve made me feel uncomfortable sometimes. He would not leave. I kid you not. He was like, why would I leave? I'm right here right now. Why don't you just sell it to me? You're going to call somebody else. You're going to waste a bunch of time. Like, this would go on and on. It would just wear them. Yeah. And then they'd be hugging him and signing. And I would have quit 20 minutes ago and gone on to the next appointment. No, what Steve doesn't do is he never quits. Basically, the seller gets in the car and leaves, and that's when he quits negotiating. And then he goes into his follow-up for later. So give that man a bone, and he is not letting go. I've seen screaming matches and a negotiation with Steve, and they sign and hug it out at the end. Like, it is some truly amazing stuff. If you really are committed, this man is, to not stopping, you will get that many. I was never able to get that good. I end up tapping out before I have, but it's hard not to admire that kind of tenacity, especially when it's like, because a lot of times I feel good if I get a third of my contracts, depending on the day, to get half consistently, like it's like some Kobe shit or something, but that's what he's doing. He just wouldn't leave till he got it. He didn't care. Didn't matter. Everything in the book. I don't think it's going to work. I'm going to try it anyway. I don't care. Throw the leg at it, whatever. What are you going to do when you leave? What do your parents think? Wouldn't it be nice just to be done? What would you do with the money? Like, he would just non-stop, one rebuttal right after another, just until they left or they signed. So it was pretty impressive to watch. I feel lucky to learn from him. I really do. There were some other things that were a little bit more challenging with him, but like, what better to learn than how to close from a wholesaler that good, So.
It's funny is that makes me cringe just thinking about it. And I mean, you kind of do need to honor like your personality, like how like my personality type is like I kind of just
Oh, I
build.
can't do that.
Yeah, I build rapport and I like talk in a way that like makes them feel like I'm smart. And then it's just like an assumptive kind of sale. Okay, well, now I have the rapport, I have the trust. I'm talking intelligently. Okay, sign on the dotted line. That's kind of my style, but I could not. Yeah, the kind of the aggressive, harder close is not me. And,
Steve's a pit bull. Steve's a pit bull.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I can't even do that. I could go a long way. I'll go a long way. This guy go to Everest. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? He's a pit bull. He's not letting go until they get loose and run away.
yeah, exactly right.
So,
So,
you are
and
right, though. I want to talk about that. You nailed that right there because I never tried to be someone I wasn't, but I did try to do things that weren't authentic in a way that I wouldn't do them. Right. And I know maybe sounds confusing to people, but I think you nailed it right on the head. You are who you are. You know, maybe you need to practice being more assertive, but I would much rather see people lean into their strengths. A good example of this is you brought up. Um, One of my really good friends, we call him Ron the Don, Ron Walraven. He closes just as many more deals than just about anybody else. He has the grandpa close. You know, he's your best friend, grandpa, and that's how he does it. I can't do that close, you know, but it works great for him. If he was to try and do the Steve Londo close, you know, the come in over the top, you know, it would not work as well for him and
yeah,
his personality because he's not working with his strengths, you know.
yeah, that's exactly
So
right. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be 50%. I'd be like probably less than 5% if I tried to do
you
that.
do way worse, yeah, because you're
People would
doing
see
all your
right through
weakest.
it. Yeah,
Yep,
people would see right through it. They're like, "Hey, you seem like a nice guy. Why are you being this asshole
it's
right
not gonna work.
now?" Like,
It'll work with some people because some people are just so desperate, you know. But that's not because of you. You know, they're just waiting to sign.
I mean,
But yeah, it's don't be who
Caleb,
you're not.
yeah,
Be
Caleb,
better. You know.
what's your style, man? Like, how do you do it? Because Caleb's one of the best salespeople I know too. It's like,
Yeah, so to me, it's just like adding like just the value, like explaining all the options, every option they have, what's going to be
Yeah.
the best possible solution for them, and then like I do a really good job, I think, of like explaining the entire process, and becoming their best friend. So like
Mm.
yesterday, I went on a listing appointment, and they literally like, yeah, we have a friend we work with that's an agent, and like from our initial phone screening conversation, we called her and said, "Hey, sorry, we're not using you. We love this guy. Like, he is the best." And she's like, "Well, why not me?" And they're like, and I sat down at the appointment. I already knew I had the listing from my initial onboarding call, but becoming their best friend. So I would say me, it's the value, and then I just am able to become friends with people like that. So the completely opposite of your buddy. I'm not aggressive
I,
at all. So I'm very just like, hey, like let's go watch a baseball game maybe
and
sometime.
what's so fascinating about this, guys, is like, so Jeremy, you kind of shared, hey, so guys, just in context, the 63 listings that he did in his first year is a one percenter across the nation. And Jeremy, I know you don't know Caleb, but Caleb's a one percenter too. Like he's yeah, everybody doing the results you've done and even then some. Um, but yeah, so like I think that what we're trying to really get at, guys, is that know yourself, know your strengths, and yeah, you can take bits and pieces from people, but ultimately the integrity within yourself,
yeah.
that's going to be where your true power is, and people will pick up on that and that certainty, and then that's how you build trust. That's how you build the rapport is when you're in integrity. So
Well, if I can go off on a tangent here on this, that's one thing that Steve did really well with me too. You got to practice. You really got to practice. You got to have your scripts. You know, it sounds cheesy. Memorize first, then personalize. All right. I want you to memorize, then personalize. You absolutely can do this, and it absolutely will sound like you if you do it this way. I don't care what script it is, pick one that works from somebody good, memorize it. And after you have it memorized and you can say it and you can go through all the rebuttals and all the objections without thinking about it, your voice will come out. Your authentic voice will come out because you will not be thinking about it. You know what your job is. So what Steve and I would do is sit down and he would just be the shittiest seller. the happy seller. And then he would turn around and be the shitty wholesale buyer, the happy wholesale buyer, right? And we would just go through lists, bam, bam. Like, what if he says this? What if he says that? You can practice all this without having a deal. Pick up an accountability partner, right? Do it for 15, 20 minutes every day. Write out your scripts. Like, if you want to sound natural and like you, there's no other way to do it. You got to memorize it first so you can not think about it while you're doing your job, right? Same sort of thing as you got to know how to solder in your plumbing so you can do it without thinking about it, right? You got to practice running if you're going. So just practice these things. Stop going like you're spending a lot of money to get in front of a seller to not practice. It is free to practice. So you can get on FaceTime and practice with someone. So Steve would just, I mean, it was brutal, just tearing me apart. It was never as bad as it could be. Every one right after another. We did the same thing on the Delia Group, practicing your voice will come out the more you do it. So if you're one of those people who worry, because I've hired those people too, they worry about their authentic selves, or they always sound like someone else. You haven't taken the time to memorize it probably, and your insecurity would go away once you're not thinking about how you sound because you already know what to say. And then guess what? The real Jeremy Burgess comes out, the real Jim comes out, the real Caleb comes out. And now you are authentic. It seems silly to do it that way because, like, why shouldn't I come up with my own script first? No, you don't know shit about scripts. You know shit about your job. Just memorize one and then learn the job, and then you will figure it out. You will sound like you should sound.
Modeling is the fastest path. Like, sure, you can do it for 5 or 10 years and figure it out. Absolutely. But that's a lot of trial and error. Whereas if you just take something that's already been proven to be successful and turn it around and make it your own, I mean, 5 years minimum, you can shave off your learning curve, right? I mean, and here's the deal, guys. Like, I'm always like an efficiency time guy. So the first thing I always, even now, as Jeremy says that, oh, well, I don't have time to do that. And what I would encourage you to do is, if you have that belief, like, you don't, like this is working smarter and not harder. And every professional athlete, like baseball players, I'm a baseball guy, like, they don't show up at 7 o'clock at night for a 7 o'clock game. They show up at like, they show up at like 12 o'clock or 11 a.m. Right. And then they work out, they practice, they take ground balls, they take batting practice, they do all of this stuff to prepare for the game time. So what I would like to challenge you on is to think about like that you don't like you can't afford to not practice. Like, I love that. It's a dollar producing activity that you absolutely must have to do. You will close more deals and make more money over the course of a year if you view yourself as a professional and do what professionals do, which is practice. So I
love that you said professional, because that's really what it is. Professionals do practice, you know. If you want, especially if you want to get the listing, you want to get the wholesale deal, you want to sign the buyer, you want to get the deal. If you practice, odds will go up significantly. And guess what? It's free to practice too. So for everybody who's horrified and scared, this is the best way to start as well. It's really not a good idea to be thrown in front of the first one. You know, just take some time. That's why I also tell a lot of people, even if you just want to be an investor, I'll say, why don't you start as a real estate agent? You're going to learn how to get somebody to sign something. You're going to learn how to answer stupid questions. You're just going to learn so many things on how to be a professional and how to respond. And how do I read a Schedule 2? What do I do as a title company? What does it mean when it says number 6 here in the text? So now you know how to clear title. If you just get engaged in some part of it, you will start to figure that stuff out and you feel a lot more confident. What I like about, I used to tell everybody, like, start being an investor. And now I'm like, man, maybe consider getting your license. It's just the practice you get, the free negotiating attempts you get, showing houses, there's just so much to learn, especially if you don't know what you want to do. Start trying some of it. You know, did I ever think I was going to be a real estate agent? In fact, I was never going to be a real estate agent ever. I won't even tell you, like, I very poor opinion of real estate agents, even to this day. I generally don't even want to talk to them for the most part. And I don't for the most part. That's kind of what I think about them. The industry is going to get, at some point, National Association of Realtors is going to be taken apart and it'll just be left for the rest of us. I can't wait for that day. But here I am, a realtor. Why? Because I kept my mind open, and I'm so glad I did. I even knew I wasn't going to like it. So you have to be a realtor for at least 3 years before you quit, Jeremy. So glad I did that too, right? So get through it too. Some of this stuff just sucks and you just got to do it. You just have a bad attitude about it. And you go, you know what? I got to change my mind about this. And I just have to commit myself to doing this damn thing. And then we'll see how I feel about it, right? So even if you're stuck in that attitude, you can find a way out of it. And I did. And I'm glad that I did. But stick with it too. If you don't, just pick something and stick with it until you have something. So although some people know what they want, but I do encounter a lot of people who just wander through real estate and just end up at something. Just try something and then do what you like. That would be, or what works.
I love it. Jeremy, I've really enjoyed this, man. How do people get a hold of you one more time?
Jeremy at Renegade Realty Group, or you can go to renegadedetroit.com. If you like podcasts, I haven't put one up in a long time, but some reason people seem to be way more fascinated about my life than real estate. So episode 100 A and B, if you want to listen to 6 hours of my life. It's not very heavy on the real estate stuff. It's more heavy on the life, but that tends to be what people want to listen to anyway. You go check that out. Otherwise, I'm on Facebook too, Jeremy Burgess. I don't get on Twitter or anything like that. I'm on Instagram. But I'm pretty easy to get a hold of, especially through email and text. The phone thing is a little crazy now. People know what I'm talking about. You do this long enough, phone kind of rings off the hook. But email and text is a great way to get through. So.
All right, right on, man. Well, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on, and hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Thanks, guys. All right, guys. So that's a wrap. Don't forget, go to doorstodeals.com/064 for more details on how we can help you out. The resources we have are tremendous, guys. There's a reason why a high percentage of people we interview on this podcast are all members of our network, right? So if you're a wholesaler, we got resources for you. We can help you put together deals. We can buy the house from you. If you're looking for funds, we have access to over $20 million of cash that we can help you do deals with. And then if you're an agent looking to get to the next level and do more investing and double, triple your business, we have a lot of resources for you too. So all you have to do is go to doorstodeals.com/064 for more details and more information and how we can get rolling and how we can help you out. So take us up on that offer. Happy to provide value any way we can. So that's a wrap for today. Go out, live your purpose, and above all else, go after your dreams. Till next time. Thanks for tuning into this show. For more episodes and resources that will unlock doors to deals, check out our website, doorstodeals.com.